shining through the night. Feel the beat drop, it's a rhythm in our soul. With every step we take, we're closer to our goal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Warrior Vetrepreneur Podcast. And I am here today with my guest, Scott Taylor. Before we get into our conversation about his business and his journey and some of his resilience and all that other stuff that's gotten him to where he is now, because it's been an interesting one, I just want to let you all know that I appreciate you being part of my network. And this is episode number 5 of Warrior Vetrepreneur Podcast since I rebranded from Victory Leaders Lounge. And so thank you guys for being patient with me while I rebranded to do a more veteran-focused show. So, Scott, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so thankful we were able to do this. We had a couple glitches with the power and the internet over here in my offsite location in West Virginia, but thankfully we're able to work it out. You're currently in the Army Reserves. You have a business. You're doing what you love, training animals and teaching other people how to do that too. And that's kind of a nationwide thing, mostly in the Southeast, you said. But yeah, tell us your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to where you are.
Yeah. So, there's a lot there. So, I had a very unorthodox career. So I joined as an Army Reservist, raised my hand at MEP, swore in December 2005, went to basic training, pay base entry date, June 14th, 2006. So the Army's birthday is my Army birthday. So June 14th this year, I hit 19 years time in service. Went to basic training, AIT, vehicle recovery school, striker school, straight to Fort Bragg to go to Iraq. Came back from Iraq. Had a couple normal drill weekends and then off to be a drill sergeant. I had some lag time. So I did the Operation Warrior after Iraq. I did the Operation Warrior Trainer program before the RTCs existed. And so I did 6 months at Bragg, did 6 months at Fort Bliss. During that time at Bliss, I was doing other training at Fort Leonard Wood. Got tied. That's when I got tied into Canine, and that ignited that spark that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. I've always loved dogs. When I was my later teenager years, because I joined the Army late. I turned 21 in basic training. I was a jerk as a teenager, so I didn't even graduate. I was supposed to graduate high school in 2003. I didn't graduate until 2006. But got my crap together, joined the Army, found dogs through the Army. I had show dogs when I was younger and participated in that. And I thought I knew a lot about dog training, and then I realized I didn't know crap. So that ignited the spark to learn as much as I could. So everywhere I went, I found anyone and everyone willing to teach me anything about dogs and dog training. I went to a 6-month school in Arizona, got a certificate that was about as useful as toilet paper because dog training is not regulated in America. But it was great knowledge and it was a great start. Then from there, I did an apprenticeship while I was in New Jersey, and I was stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey at RTC East. And I was an instructor for the Army Combatives program, the Army's hand-to-hand combat program. I also did weapons, land navigation, dagger. And then from there, RTC East went away in 2012. Well, First Army was also there doing the same thing. We were just two separate entities. One was a task force. One was First Army, because that's what First Army did. And First Army picked up, they selected who they wanted out of the RTC's crew to bolster their numbers moving forward. Did 3 more years with First Army, or just shy of 3 years with First Army. So I spent 5.5 years at Fort Dix, New Jersey. 3 of those I did, just shy of 3 of those. I did an apprenticeship. Whoop, whoop. Are we still rolling? Yeah. So I think we're still rolling. So I'll keep going. From Fort Dix, New Jersey, when my orders ended, I maxed out all the different types of active duty orders I could do. So like I said, it was very unorthodox. I was a reservist from the get-go, but I pretty much stayed on some remnants of mobilization orders or active orders for the first almost 9 years of my career, and moved back home April 2015 to Chatsworth, Georgia, in North Georgia here, and dabbled around in some jobs. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know that I thought you really had to be somebody in the dog world to, to start a business and get that going and everything. I didn't have the confidence in myself to do that. So I kept learning. I found a company to work for, and that only lasted about 3 weeks. I didn't like how they were handling dogs, so I left. And there we go.
I don't know if we're still live or not.
I pulled up the link you sent me to follow along live, and I was still there, so I kept going.
Good. Well, where are we? First of all, this might start it back off on a fun note, but Rob Wagner popped up on here on my YouTube link, and he wants to know about your bow hunting skills.
Yeah. Oh, I love Rob. So, funny story. I go to Rob's house. So I destroyed my bow in 2016. It fell like 30 feet out of a tree stand, hit the ground, was obliterated. And I didn't touch a bow until this past deer season. And Rob, he actually gave me his old bow when he got his new one. So I got it adjusted to me. It didn't need much. And I just didn't have the time. The business was killing me. And finally I started making some mindset changes. And I was like, no, I have to make time for the things I want to do. Period. I have to. I can't fall down this downward spiral of being absorbed by the business. I run the business doesn't run me.
Right.
And so went through some mindset changes, and I was like, hey, Rob, need to go hunting. What do you got? And he's like, yeah, man, come on. I'll put you in the stand. And so I go in the stand, and this whole trip, this isn't for a trophy buck or anything. This is to put meat in the freezer, right? I love venison, and so do my dogs. So
I'm sure.
I show up. He gets me set up in the tree stand. Or first off, I'm dialing in the sights on my bow because I didn't have a target at home. So I'm dialing in his backyard, and I spent maybe an hour dialing in from 15 to I think we shot a couple times at 40 yards. So dialed in my top 3 pins, and then spent about an hour doing that. I go in the stand. He puts me in the side-by-side, drops me off at the stand. I get up, get set. He leaves. Not 5 minutes later, what I thought was 2 doe came out, and I was like, well, they look kind of chubby. All right, here we go. And stood up. So I'm 5 minutes into this. Stand up, zing. Nailed it, saw the blood flash. Deer runs around the tree that I'm in and runs up the property line, and I lose it. So I sit down, I text Rob, got one. It ran about, this is the direction it went. And he's like, all right, I'll see if I can go find it. And right around the time he texts me back, so there's maybe 6 minutes in between me sending that text and him confirming. Right around the time he's texting me, found it, it's down. Another one comes up, and I'm like, screw it. I stand up, zing. And at the angle I was at, I spined it, so it just dropped. And I take a picture, got another one, and he's like, I'll come get you. I was like, all right, cool. So I just sit in the stand and I wait for a second, and I got all my stuff together, get ready to come down. And he comes out and he's like, dang, like you spent more time dialing in the bow than you did hunting. Like you showed up with sunglasses and you're going to be leaving here with sunglasses. Like who does that when they go hunting? Like,
dude, I need your luck, man. That's some good stuff. I have never been in a tree, either a tree house or a stand or whatever, I've been in on a specific property and had it happen that fast. I've gotten mine within a couple of hours of starting, but within the first 15 minutes, doggone, man.
2 deer in 20 minutes.
2 deer in 20 minutes.
And it was funny because like I was there to get meat. He was having a problem with the deer because they had done like, I think this year alone, they did a little over $5,000 in landscaping damage to his property. And so I'm like, I got the tags. I'll come down and help out, and it helps me out.
Yep.
And it was just a good time. Like I've been into archery my whole life. I competed when I was a kid, and love archery hunting. For deer anyways. And then but yeah, that's quite a funny story. So glad Rob popped up on that one. It's a skill that I thought, it's a perishable skill. Just like we tell soldiers all the time, like this is a perishable skill. You need to stay on top of this. You need to pay attention when you're being taught the classes and work on these things, muscle memory, yada, yada. Right. And for me to just do an hour's worth of dialing in my sights and to get up there and have 2 beautiful shots, I was like, it was a proud moment for me. I was like, still got it. But yeah, that's a funny story. But
Vanessa says you have more luck than she's ever seen.
Vanessa's actually Vanessa's my top trainer. Funny story about that. So in business, this ties into business directly. So when you run a business in every aspect of your business, what you're looking for is value, right? Mm-hmm. You want to get top value out of every aspect of your business. So Vanessa and I worked together at another company about 8 years ago. And this actually almost brings us to where I was. And the moment I saw her pick up a leash and start working a dog, I sit there and I was watching and I was seeing what she was doing with the leash, and I was watching the dog and the dog's behavior, and I was watching her body language and everything come together. And I was like, man, this chick can train a dog. Like I was about 30 minutes into watching her work a dog for the first time. And I was like, holy cow, like this chick knows what she's doing. So, and we ended up becoming really good friends over the 3 years that I worked at that company, or nearly. And it was when I left, and then I went to another school in Virginia, in Carsville, Virginia, went to a canine academy and became a certified detection and patrol dog trainer, which again, it's just a piece of paper. I consider myself a lifetime student of this game, but started the business while I was at school. My at the time fiance and I launched the business, and now we're married, but we launched the LLC. I came home October 2019 and started going full speed ahead. Did everything myself for about a year. And then I was like, I need help. And I started, actually it was a little before that. It was about 6-7 months in. And I was like, man, I need help. Like I'm swamped. And so I reach out to Vanessa and I tell her like, hey, if you ever want to come work for me, doors open. You're amazing. I need somebody amazing to help me.
Right.
And I chased Vanessa down for 2 years to come work for me because I knew how valuable she was. And I knew how amazing she was. I knew how valuable she was. I knew she was going to be a tremendous asset. But you've got to look at the mindset. So going back to mindset, somebody that's been performing somewhere else for so long, and that job security, regardless if you're not being treated that well or not, it's the job security thing.
Yeah.
You got bills, you got a kid to take care of, yada, yada. That's a big mindset switch to have the confidence to make that jump, right? Am I going to really do as well over here as I'm doing here? This is secure, whatever. Finally, she made the jump. She went through some life changes and called me up and was like, I'm game. I've got a cruise coming up. As soon as I get back from my cruise, I was like, I will have your schedule booked out by the time you get back from the cruise. And she was like, Kat, go away. She was like, okay, cool. And sure enough, I had her, I already had her like 3 clients lined up. I already had her 3 clients lined up by the time she got back from her cruise. And now she's our top trainer. She's the one who trains trainers for behavioral management. She's training one of our trainers now for behavioral management clients. And he's doing amazing, Josiah. And she also handles our sales calls and email responses and everything else. So now she's our greatest asset. But I saw that value even before she decided to come work for me. And that's why I chased her down. Like, I recognized the value and I knew how much it was going to benefit us. I knew I could help her because simply I knew I was going to treat her better.
Right.
And I knew I was going to provide the value she was looking for. I knew she was going to provide the value I was looking for. I was just trying to find a way to make it happen. And I was relentless. I just didn't let up. I every time we had a chance for communication or anything, I just always slide it in there at the end of the communication, like, door's still open. Come on over.
Still open. Yep. Awesome. Well, that's actually rare today. I mean, for people, it's kind of an old school mentality anymore where somebody's willing to stay whether they like the job or not. I mean, that's not something that happens too often anymore. There are so many jobs available these days where people tend to jump around. So to get somebody who's loyal like that, whether it's through fear because she's afraid of losing her job or if it's just because she wants to stay employed by a good company, you probably are really, really lucky to have her.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
100%.
So let me see here. Let me get this straight. So you're a soldier, you're a business owner, you're a father, you're a husband, and a community leader. How do you manage your time and your priorities?
Very
Johnny on the spot.
Very carefully. First off, I would be lying if I said this was something that I did all on my own. My wife is the keeper of my sanity, and without her, I would be lost somewhere. Like this thing would have, at some point, would have torpedoed and gone the way of the dodo if it wasn't for her. I owe all my success. I owe everything that I've achieved, everything I continue to achieve, because of my wife's brilliance and support and just her ability to rein me in, refocus me, and send me back out there. So it's a team effort between her and I. It's scheduling these things is hard, and it's not easy at all, but it can be done. The beautiful part is I have my drill schedule a year out usually, right? So I can pre-plan for my drill weekends. I'm currently in the 316th Engineer Company. It's we are now reformed as a KEKI, and so we're a light engineer company, what used to be called a sapper company. Mm-hmm. So they were mechanized before I came to them, and they're out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it was the greatest career decision I made at the time. Like, I was getting ready where I was at the time in the reserves. I had toxic leadership from my company level all the way to the battalion level. It was bad. I had a horrible mindset about the military at the time. I was ready to just throw my entire, 15 years. I was ready to just throw it in the trash and get out. And my old sergeant major, she was my battalion sergeant major. She heard through the grapevine, through one of my battle buddies, that I was really upset and I wasn't doing well. I wasn't coping well. I wasn't making good decisions. I was snapping back at leadership when usually that wasn't me, right? And she hit me up and she's like, "Hey, you need to get to Chattanooga tomorrow, this time." And I was like, "Okay." And I showed up. I met her at the unit up there, and she introduced me to the current AGR staff. I said I was game. They said they were game. Did the TPU to TPU transfer, the unit transfer. It all went through, and it was the best career decision I've made since, actually, from 2015 to the present. Like, it was the best career decision I made. This unit is amazing. We actually train. We don't just sit around the drill hall. We do training, nonstop training. You have those days where you have to buckle in and get push all the Joes and get all the admin stuff done, right? Because we're not full time. So sometimes we take an entire weekend and it is all admin. But in between getting soldiers pushed through, we're going out and doing hip pocket training. We're working on tactics. We're working on skill level 1 warrior tasks, little things we can plug in to keep the ball moving towards evaluation. Because on the ARFIGEN cycle, when we rotate around to our third year's evaluation, I think, so we're getting ready in another 18 to 24 months to go to either a WARX, CSTX, JR or JRTC to be evaluated. So everything we do at this point is lead up to that. And the unit has evolved and just become this awesome entity to where I'm excited to go to drill. We've got annual training that starts this coming Monday for 2 weeks, and I'm pumped. Our company commander and company first sergeant, our operations NCO, all the full-time staff, they've got some really awesome training put together for us. And I'm super excited to see how it all pans out, because this is going to be kind of like a soft evaluation for us, knowing where we're at and where we have to push to get better moving forward. But I'm currently a platoon sergeant, first platoon sergeant. And that experience alone, being back in the line unit after being in TRADOC for so long in training, was a huge change for me. It was a little scary because I'm like, holy crap, do I even remember how to be a combat engineer anymore? And here I've been an instructor this whole time in some way, shape, or form, either as a drill sergeant, because I was in the reserve drill sergeant unit, or these other missions that I was on doing the instructing. I was like, this is terrifying. And then I realized, wait a minute, I can lean on my experienced guys, put them out front, and I can be the student. It's okay to be the higher ranking soldier and still be the student.
Mm-hmm.
And in business, I've noticed as a correlation, it's the same thing. Like, when I have someone that knows more in this area than I do, I put them out front and I sit back and I watch and I learn. So it's being able to humble ourselves and put pride out the window and sit down and learn when you have a subject matter expert standing right in front of you. It's when you make sergeant first class, everybody looks at you to be the expert at everything. You're the man, you're the guy, you know it all. It's like,
no, you're the most resourceful son of a gun out there. I would say the second to that frontline E5.
And I've got an amazing platoon. We've got several guys that transferred to us from active duty, and they have been godsends for this platoon, because we're like two-thirds signed up as a reservist, went through OSIT at Fort Leonard Wood came to the unit. So the only things they know are what they've learned at the unit. And then we're 1/3 transfers either from other units or from active duty that are highly experienced. And it's like, yes, mushing them together. So my skill is putting together the team the way it needs to be put together, just like I've done in my business, and standing back and saying, all right, these soldiers in this squad with them as the team leaders, and then this one is the squad leader, and the mixing and matching, finding out the personalities that work the best and having those cohesive teams and squads is where we're going to make our money at. Because when we are learning, even when we're failing, we're learning. Yep. So even if we go out on an op and we just screw the pooch completely, we're going to be able to stand back and do that hot wash in that AAR and learn from those mistakes, and then know that now these are the things that we need to drill the most on. Mm. So
sometimes that's the most important.
That team building, creating the team, putting it all together, playing the game of chess.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, nope, we're good.
Froze again. Nope, you're back. There you are.
I don't know if this is the internet or if this is software glitches today, but we are making it happen. Speaking of screwing the pooch, I mean, today's internet, I think, is screwing the pooch.
You just you're in an area that just went through some massive storms and flooding, and
yes,
so we had the same thing. So, but I will say this, I'm impressed. My internet has not crashed since the power came back on. So I'm kind of happy about that. First time in a long time.
Heck yeah. Well, before it happens again, this is towards the end where I like to ask my guests, if you had one piece of advice for anyone in the audience, whether it's to start a business or if it's moving forward towards a goal or whatever the case may be, success driven, what's one piece of advice that you would share with anybody and everybody?
It's kind of it's a multi-pointed piece of advice. So self-belief. So self-belief is so important. You have to believe in yourself. You've got to find a way to switch into that mindset and believe in yourself and breaking it down. So for me, I had to stop seeking validation from the industry I was trying to break into. I spent so much time trying to seek validation from the people that I looked up to, that mentored me, and the people that I respected that were running their own successful businesses. I was like waiting for that, put me in, coach, come on, tell me it's okay. Tell me I can do it. And as soon as I got over that and I started that self-belief, and I was like, screw it. I have the abilities. And again, it was a conversation that came from my wife. She was like, babe, you've got it. You have the knowledge, you have the tools, you have the ability, you have the intelligence. Like, you can do this. You just need to do it. Screw everybody else. Do your thing. Yep. And that led to me constantly feeding that fire for self-belief. And the number one thing to keep that going and not burn out, as people like to call it, is I'm in competition with myself. I don't care what any other dog training company does. I don't talk crap about other dog trainers. I don't talk crap about other companies. I don't care. I root for my friends and I compete with myself. And once you have that self-belief, because here's the problem. When we get out and when we get out of the military service, and we don't have that day-to-day camaraderie, we lose a piece of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find your new purpose. And a lot of us go to some silly job that might pay decent and have decent benefits and whatever, but we're not fulfilled. We're still hollow, right? We've got that void. Once you find that thing that you want to do, pull the trigger. Rather, it's part-time. If you need that job to pay the bills and to take care of your family while you're building this thing on the side, never put it all the way to the side and stop. Keep your foot on the throttle, and only you will know how far you control the throttle. If you need more gas, give it more gas. If you need to let off and brake a little bit, let off and brake a little bit, but never completely stop. Never put that car in park.
Mm-hmm.
And like, here's the thing. I went from first year, 46,000 to like, I ended 2019. Granted, I was gone to school for 6 months of that, but 46,000 in 2019 to we closed out 2024 just shy of 700,000 gross revenue. Like,
wow.
You can do it. You can do it. If you have that thing that you're passionate about, find somebody that's making money doing it and doing it really well, and learn from them. And
I like that.
I have another thing that I do, and this is kind of the last point on this, is there's so much out there to learn. Like, there's so many references, books, podcasts. There's so many people to follow. I've got my own reading list that of books that have helped me along the way and that are so spot on. And the funny thing is, here's how I've always known this was good, and I don't want to say validated it, because my success through what I've learned out of these assets and these resources validated it. But what really kind of put the cherry on top, I just had one of the platoon leaders in my company sent me the battalion commander's recommended reading list, and I'm going through his reading list, and I'm like, huh.
That's my reading list.
I've read like half of this. And then my response was, hey, sir, this is awesome. I've already read like a little under half of this list, but there's some really good looking stuff in here and some stuff that I'm remembering that I wanted to get to but never did. I'm going to dive in. I've got more to do. And because I've done a ton of reading and research and school, continued education, like, I'm going to attend a seminar later this year. I'm gonna be a leader. I volunteer at a workshop in Muscatatuck, Indiana, Muscatatuck Urban Training Center. It's the largest search and rescue canine workshop in North America, held annually. I volunteer every year, and I'm a group leader. I'm a team leader there. But then I'm turning right around a couple months later, and I'm attending a seminar as a student.
Sweet.
Like, it's the day I feel like I know everything about my industry is the day I'm going to hang up my leash and retire.
I was going to say that you're never, ever, ever going to get there. I mean, I think that's one thing everybody needs to understand, is that there's never nothing left to learn.
It's true. And to just drive the point home for that piece of advice of self-belief, if you make the decision to get out and to stop your military career, rather through retirement or med board or whatever it is, or you're just done and your contract's over and you're getting out, you're ETSing, start stoking that fire of self-belief. Start looking for that thing that you want to do. And even if it is working for another company, build that self-belief. Arm yourself with self-belief. And it's different from it. A lot of people say, oh, confidence. Kind of.
That can build confidence. Yeah.
It can build confidence, but that self-belief, that core self-belief, that's where you'll get overall confidence. But that self-belief is important, because if you can be confident doing something that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
So that self-belief, that's what's going to allow you to create something, whether you're creating a business or working for someone else, that is going to allow you to climb the ladder and continue to grow and thrive and produce and be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
College is great. And I think there's too much emphasis on there's some, don't get me wrong, some jobs you can't get the job unless you have the degree for it, right? Attorneys, doctors, teachers, so on and so forth. But for other things, I've started a business. I've been running it successfully. We're starting our 6th year, and I have no college, but I'm starting college in May. So I'm going to start my college journey in May on top of everything else I'm doing, because I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it because I've been competitive. I'm a business on the rise. We're growing every year by a minimum of 60%, and every single year. So it feeds into that self-belief. And now everything I do for me truly is for me and no one else.
Well, that's awesome. Scott, you've been an awesome guest today. I wish we could stay longer, but I have other calls I got to do, but this is the most amazing thing, to do all of the stuff that you're doing and still have time for family and personal development and all that other stuff. I mean, you're the real deal. So thank you for coming on my show. I appreciate you. And that's all sound advice for the audience. And hopefully they take it, because without self-belief, you got nothing. But
100%, that's the core that builds it all.
The core that builds it all. And in the audience, thank you for following me on this journey. Remember, if you enjoy this, like the videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel. But the most important thing is to comment below and let us know what you're enjoying, so that we can always make these shows better. All right, Scott, take care of yourself. And to the audience, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.